Hey everybody, today I'm here with Mike Hildebrand. As you know, this is Kevin Hildebrand. Get asked on a daily basis, what is it like working every day with a close family member? And on a 1 to 10, it's probably been a 50. I got licensed the end of 1994. I know I'm old, 29 years ago. And in 95, I started building a team. Back in the old days, you younger ages don't know how this worked, but you had to wire all your computers together so they would talk, network them. And Mike was an electrical engineering student at the University of Cincinnati, go Bearcats. So in the summer of 95, I started building a team, hired a transaction coordinator, marketing person, all one person, but I always talk about dollar productive activity. Are you doing something right now to generate a sale or a listing? And if you're not, you're spending your time in the wrong place. So hired someone to do transactions, help with marketing, etc. And in the summer of 95, gave my brother Mike a job he didn't really probably deserve. He was a little lazy, but he was an electrical engineering student at the University of Cincinnati, and brought him on to wire all the computers together, and he never left. So early 96, Mike started taking his real estate classes to get his license. How old were you in 96? You were born in what year?
December 74, so essentially 75. I was 21.
So Mike was 21 and looked like he was 15. So don't make excuses if you think you're too young or think you look too young. When we both got into real estate, we looked like we were under 20. But at the same time, he got his license, and then I'll let him tell you what happened from there.
So let's make it clear. I had never networked computers before, so I learned how to do it on the fly. I don't know if did they ever work right?
I don't think so.
But we may do. The two computers I networked were like 6 feet from each other, so when we couldn't make it work, we talked to each other. It's probably how we still made it.
Yeah.
We learned to talk to each other.
Yeah, probably.
But I was outside his reach. He couldn't get physical with me. Went and got my license. I was by far the youngest person at the office. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%.
Aside from maybe the girls they hired to answer the phone. But other than that, so our broker pulled me in one day when I was almost ready to get my license. He made it very clear. He said, "You're probably not going to sell a house for 6 months to a year. Don't let it get you down." The day we found I got my license on Tuesday, Kevin gives me a name and number and said, "Hey, you got your license, go show these people the house." I showed it to them. I knew nothing. I didn't know the answer to any of their questions, so I said, "I don't know." I wrote it down, and that's a great life lesson for anyone who's new in the business. If you don't know, you just say you don't know. People don't expect you, especially when they were standing there with a 12-year-old. They knew I didn't know anything, but they bought it that night. Do you remember what time we got back? I mean, it was like midnight?
I was going to say 11 p.m. I think we met at a McDonald's. This is back when everything was done by hand and fax, and I think we met at a McDonald's
in Fairfield.
And got all the paperwork written.
I had no cell phone, so I get done with the showing. I stop at a payphone and I called Kevin and said, "Hey, they want to buy it." And he laughed. He said, "Okay, whatever, come on back to the office." I said, "No, really, they want to buy it. Come do this." You didn't believe me.
I probably did, but was a little
hesitant. Yeah. Anyway, the point, first night I got my license, sold a house. The next night I showed a house for Tom Canning, and they bought it. So the third day I walk into the office, my chest all puffed up, and told the broker, I said, "This is the easiest thing in the world." Very odd way to start, but it hooked me pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Mom could have killed us because I never went back to college. It is what it is. So
college dropout.
The biggest lesson I learned from both of those showings, I was very transparent with both folks. The first people didn't know it was my first day on the job. For a side note, I met them close to 10 years later to sell the house. Sit down, give him my spiel, and he says, "You've kind of got this under wraps now. You've learned something, right?" I said, "Well, I can take that to mean I was really bad when you bought, or I'm really good now. Which is it?" And he said, "Both." He said, "You were never bad." He said, "But we knew you'd never done it before." And I said, "If you knew I'd never done it before, why did you work with me to buy the house?" And he said, "Because I knew you were honest." And I said, "Well, how did you know I was honest? You knew me for 10 minutes. He said, "Almost every question I asked you, I knew the answer to. I wanted to see what your answer would be." And he said, "Your answer was, I don't know on everything." So I knew you weren't lying to me. So it's a great life lesson for anybody getting into business. And I said it before, I'll say it again, just be honest. But what I learned selling the two houses in the first 2 days is I was transparent with the folks. The second day, Tom Canning's people was a gigantic house in Blue Ash in Carpenter's Run. Biggest house I'd ever personally been in. My buyer showed me the house. I'd never been in a house like that, and I oohed and awed on the way through, but the enthusiasm was so contagious that they were excited about the house, and they joked. I couldn't write the contract. Sharon Canning wrote the contract for us, but they knew that and they understood. But the enthusiasm, the honesty, those were the big things that those first two people knew that I was there to help them. So anybody getting in, help the folks. I don't think people care if we know everything. They want us to tell them what we do know and what we don't, help them find it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't think people care how much you know until they know how much you care. So number one lesson in sales, you have to be there. So he was there. Number two, just listen. You know, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. People will tell you what they want. And if you don't know the answer, there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, I don't know the answer to that. I'll get the answer, and get the answer for them in a timely manner.
I said I don't know at least 15 times on my first appointment, and they bought the house that night. I didn't even get any answers to any questions.
Yeah.
It was just a test.
He listed that house 15 years later and sold it for him and helped him buy a big house. So
they've referred me probably 5 or 6 people since.
Exactly.
They didn't care that I was clueless. They knew that I was there to help. It was clear. I didn't know how to open the lockbox. I'd never opened a lockbox before. So the team thing and working with my brother, it's funny because I've said this for years. If you put Kevin and I in 2 different rooms and ask 10 questions, you'll get 10 of the same answers in separate rooms. If you put us in the same room, we'll actually say the same thing but totally different. Mm-hmm. Kevin's very precise about how he answers things. I'm a storyteller. I will tell a story about one of my past deals that answers the question. You know, some personalities love that I do that. Some I learn quickly. They'll zone out in about the first 15 seconds, and I realize to stop telling stories. We think the same, but we do have different methods of getting there. I think that's why we've worked so well. You know, anybody that's going to come in and work with a family member, a spouse, whatever it is, you have to identify fairly early on. We never did. We kind of stumbled through it.
We kind of winged it a little bit.
Yeah, Kevin is an amazing leader. We could never change positions. If you and I changed positions, you'd have fired me years ago. So the fact
vice versa.
Yeah. So the fact that Kevin knows how to lead was huge because we learned early on what our strengths and weaknesses were. I mean, there was a time you had me negotiate your contracts. Kevin was so good at going in and meeting folks, showing them the way to get the house listed to get it sold, that we got busy enough at one point that you couldn't do enough in the day to keep up with contracts. So I would come in and negotiate the contracts. And we had a different style at the way we did it, and you liked my style at the time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, being able to pinpoint what your strengths and weaknesses are and work through that. There's going to be disagreements. I mean, I've beat Kevin up 6 times, but that's a lie. That's not true. You know,
I've always ran when I see his face turn red because he's a little stronger than I am.
I start throwing stuff. No. We've had disagreements, but we've always worked through it. We've struggled with communications a few times, but, you know, we've always been, again, Kevin's the person that finally comes in and says, hey, let's talk. And somebody, one person or the other has to be that person that'll say, hey, we're on the wrong path. Let's talk. So communication is probably the biggest thing.
And I would like to add that as a team leader or even a team member, you can do the same task 2 different ways and get the same result. One thing you'll hear a lot in a lot of our videos is the personality types, and we've studied and spent a lot of time with it's the DISC personality type, and I would highly encourage you to study the DISC and learn it, and not just for business. I use it in my personal life. I use it with my wife. I use it with my children. We all have strengths and weaknesses that we were born innately with as personalities, and Mike's a high I, I'm an S, and if you know what them are, you understand. So his way of doing things sometimes is completely different than mine, but as a team member, it's fine to let people do things their own way. With all the collaboration of EXP and working with other agents that are in our group, it's amazing how people do a lot of the same tasks we do on a daily basis, different, but yet better than what we've done in the past. So you have to be open-minded to not say, hey, the way we've done it or the way I do it is the best way, because that's not always the case. So I remember hearing a long time ago, if you have a team member or a child or something that keeps asking you questions all the time, just ask them to write down their 2 best answers, and 9 times out of 10, one of the 2 answers is what you would have chosen anyway. So you say, you try to empower people. Buying and selling real estate is very high stress, very emotional for people. It's a very stressful experience, but at the end of the day, you just do what's in everybody's best interest.
you bring up a great point. One huge strength as a team, and especially as a family team that we know each other so well, we have a deal going on right now that I started with the folks. They are such an off-the-charts S that they struggled with my personality. So Kevin stepped in, and you guys are a great fit. So when you know the strengths and weaknesses, that personality, and when you read that personality, it's one of the advantages of that DISC, being able to read what personality they were. It was pretty clear that we needed to change things up a little bit. And we've done it in the past.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain personalities that will clash, and we've got enough personalities under roof. We've got everything covered. Robin's an off the charts D.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't do that on purpose, but knowing what personalities are kind of helps tailor to the client. And for the client, that's a huge advantage. Most real estate agents are a high I, like me.
Yeah.
And I've helped a lot of folks that had been with a real estate agent in the past who they hated because they could not adapt. So that's pretty huge.
I don't want to get off topic for the family video, but the DISC personality test, if you're showing a house to a high I, they want to see the high ceilings and the granite countertops. The high C wants to see comps, energy bills, water bills, taxes. They want the numbers. So don't waste their time showing them all the shiny things in the house that a high I would care about when they don't care about that. They're a numbers person. They're a high C, and then a high D just wants to know, hey, how quick can we close? What's the bottom line? So it's really a nice thing to use every day for business and personal, to know what type of personality you're talking with. You're not trying to manipulate anyone. You're not trying to steer anybody.
Trying to help them.
You're trying to help them.
Yeah.
You're trying to provide them in the best way you can.
I think the way our business is set up as a family business, you know, it's Kevin and I, our niece works with us, Kevin's wife works with us, and the folks that aren't family are pretty darn close to it. You call them almost an extended family, and our clients know that and they feel that, and I think everyone knows that's an advantage.
Yeah, 100%. People want to know that you care. Mike got licensed in '96, so this is his 27th year. Allison's been here 24 years. Robin, 21 years. So we've got 5 of us with more than 20 years together. 4 of us, right? My wife, Katie, who took an extended leave of 24 years while she raised our 3 kids. So there's really 5 of us that have been in our business over north of 20 years.
Hey, if you have any questions, text, email, call Kevin, myself, really anybody on the team. We all know how this works. We'll tell you everything we know, good, bad, and different.
Feel free to click in the comments down below and add any questions. Mike and I will personally answer. If you have any business questions, EXP questions, you need a dialogue or a script for a problem you're having in your business, any pain points that you're having in your business, we'd be happy to share everything we've done. We're pretty much an open book here.
Gigantic sales pitch for EXP here. Everybody seems to be that way. Never been with a company. We've been with 3 companies, really 2 companies. Our last company switched companies in midstream because of a business thing. That had nothing to do with us. Possibly the best company in Cincinnati for 20-something years, and we've never felt the collaboration that we felt in the last 3 at EXP. The open book that people are, the sharing, it's almost unbelievable. I could call an EXP agent that I've possibly never met and say, hey, I saw your information on the counter. Could you ever share with me? And everybody so far has been completely open with sharing that. It's huge for a company you work with. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need us.
We're here if you guys need us. Thank you.